Across your world for information, breaking the myths will only find something that happened and that is happening. And yes, the facts, what may happen. Stay tuned for all these and more. Across your world for
Hey all, how are you? The topic for the day is you can be happy. Yes, you can be happy. Before we get into the video, thanks to all those who have subscribed to my channel and watching my videos regularly. For all those who haven't, my request is please check out my videos, and if you like them, subscribe to my channel and share it with your contacts. Right, let's get into the topic. You can be happy. Happiness is our innate nature. In fact, not just of humans, but of any life. Any life has been born here, has been created as for happiness. Man being the kind of animal that we are born out of happiness. So happiness is our innate. Most of the times we don't understand the infinite capacity within us. This lack of understanding prevents us from being happy. As a child, we had a free mind, and then we had our beliefs, we had our perceptions, we had dogmas, we had our different. We acquired a lot of things from this society, and we have lost that open mind to enjoy the journey called life. So it is only an illusion that you are not happy. It is only your emotional thoughts that prevent you from being happy. If we start to understand our true nature and start to live in harmony with our fellow beings and the universe at large, we will always be happy. The world is a crisis-ridden world. We have lot of contradictions, conflicts, obsessions, and we are influenced externally because we are not strong inside. What do you think will make our life better? You think it's money? It's power? Do you think it is wealth? Yes, we need to explore the purpose of life to understand this. Our quest for life has started as we have come into the world as being. The first cry of hunger is the first symbol of joy we wanted to enjoy by having something called food. And the normal social norms, which says that you'll have to undergo school, education, employment, this, that, you need to have wealth, you need to have your own home, you need to have this, you need all these materialistic feelings. When I can't achieve any of this or some of this, I became insecure, I became miserable, I have tensions, I get frustrations, and this is happening to me at different points of life. As a child, my reason for frustration or disappointment would be different. As I grow up, it would be different. As a old man, it is different. The perception differs, but the root cause is the same. It's the misery, it's the external thing that you have allowed it to flow into your mind. In fact, most of the perceptions in life of us are erroneous. Somebody said you must eliminate all your emotions, use your intellect to become happy. Intellect is also one of the emotions, one of the acquired feelings that I get from this world. Someone else said, the more less you are dependent on someone, the more happy you are. Somebody else told that the more free you are, the more happy you are. Bearing all this, happiness is our innate nature and should be the focal points of all our efforts. We need to integrate all our energy in one direction and think and do and perform only those things that makes us happy. We need to do this with a lot of confidence, without any doubts or insecurities, and we should try to acquire the meaning of purpose of our life. The basic cause of any anxiety or worry or misery or fear or any other such negative feelings is the heightened sense of ego or individuality. So as a Reiki practitioner, what we do is we have something called 5 daily affirmations to keep ourselves happy. So only if we keep ourselves happy, then we can make others happy. Our touch has to spread the love. It has to spread the happiness. Ego is the reason for all the conflicts in the human relationship. And with the elimination of ego, we can develop all the relationships and see the fellow beings as we see our own self. And this happiness will be lasting. So most of us don't even understand what ego is. It is very subtle in us. Only when people start inducing, then we react. And only then we understand that, yes, there is kind of ego in us. Any kind of ego requires a constant vigilance. Otherwise, it has to be balanced. It has to be kept in order. Otherwise, if you control your ego, you are better. But the ego starts controlling you, the story is very different. More often than not in our lives, we live in a competitive world. We call ourselves as runners, and this world is always like an athletic competition. And the modern man's life is totally inspired by comparison and competition. Most of the life will be the purpose of life will not be understood if there is no comparison or competition. So you'll have to compare yourself with someone, and then you'll have to assume that you are superior than him or her, and then you want yourself to be appreciated by everybody, and that appreciation you think should become priority, and you should be important in somebody else's life, and this will boost your ego and individuality. When this doesn't happen, people become jealous of somebody who gets all these. Here, your expectations, your comparison, and you are jealous, all these and more. When you see yourself, compare yourself with others, when you compete with others, so this negative feeling can be eliminated by being happy, by not comparing yourself, because you are a masterpiece. You are, as an individual, is unique, and anybody else whom you are comparing or whom you intend to compare with is unique. If you are good in some way, they are good in some other way. So you don't need to compare. You don't need to compete with anyone else. You just have to be competing with yourself. You can compete yourself with how you were yesterday and how you are today and how you want to be tomorrow. If you can compete with yourself and be happy that you are developing, then that will give you a lot of happiness. Happiness is immense and it is easy to obtain at no cost. Just you will have to tune yourself to receive the happiness. So you will have to understand that comparison leads to conflict and misery, and hence should be eliminated from our perceptions. Somebody think the mind is the man. No, mind is not the man. Then what is true identity of a man or a woman, of a living being? Just remember to record your opinion in the comment section about this. So what I wanted to impress you upon is that the human being, any being, is distinct and different from others, and the being will be happy if he or she eliminates the concept of comparison and competition from his or her thinking. You can never be alone, my friends. You are in a world of interdependency, and you need to know that you are dependent on someone. Never think that you are independent. Yes, you can be independent in a few activities, but on the whole, you are also dependent on a few. The wealth building as an exercise, the amassment of wealth, is the reason for misery of most of the people. So making more money becomes a priority than the job satisfaction or the conducive work environment. This again leads to the destruction of our happiness. Happiness is positive energy. To be happy, the secret is you need to get out all your negative energies. Be it anger, be it jealous, be it sorrow, anything that is negative has to be eliminated to be happy. Another secret I wanted to share with you is you can be happy with or without marriage. One must consider the family as a social unit and meet the needs and expectations and be happy. Too much of expectations here and there would only lead to misery and not happiness. It it will deprive you of your happiness. And another big reason that can make or break happiness is the concept of love. Love is an emotional relationship. Even if it is not, it is constituted that way in the society. So the moment the human beings emotionally involve with others, conflicts and complications arise as a natural thing. This need to be sorted out soon to restore the happiness of the bonding. It is only a natural impulse for any human beings or any beings for that matter to give and to share. But when power comes into the question, then a lot of things change, and this includes happiness. Most of us confuse our knowledge with our perception. Perception is not knowledge. You may pursue with wealth as your objective, and you think that your happiness is attached to that, but this is only a perception and not the reality. The secret of happiness is understanding and distinguishing the perceptions from reality. The whole, we need to have a better understanding of our own nature and how to live in the world ridden by conflicts. We'll have to live in harmony with our fellow beings and the universe at large and be happy. Still be yourself. Be yourself and be happy. You can always be happy. I hope you enjoyed the vlog on happiness. To see you with some similar other vlogs in the future. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Bye.
Welcome to Ocrop's YouTube channel, your world for information.
Hi friends, welcome to yet another edition of a story, psychology of uh, being in a team. We'll see two stories. The first one is you can do it alone. The second one is you can't do it alone. Right, let's go to the stories. The first story. There was a man who was driving his car to a countryside. He was driving fast and suddenly he went off the road. The car skidded off the road and it got caught in a mud. He was looking around for help and finally he could find a farmer. He sought his help. The farmer agreed. After he said, okay, he will pay so much of amount for retrieving his car out of mud. Then the farmer agreed. Then the farmer bought a bull, a old bull, and tied him to the car, and he was trying to motivate the bull to pull the car out of the mud. He shouted, "Hey, let's say the name of the bull is Bull Z." Okay. Started shouting, "Hey, Bull Z, come on, you can do it. Hey, Bull D, come on, you can do it. Hey, Bull W, you can do it. Bull V, you can do it." And suddenly the bull got strength from nowhere, and he started believing that so many people are around him and they are also trying to help him in this endeavor, and he pulled the car eventually out of the mud. The man who drove the car, he wanted to check with the farmer why he started shouting so many names wherein the name of the bull was only Bull Lizard. The farmer said, "That's the psychology of being in a team. My bull is old and he needs some kind of motivation. He needs to believe that he alone is not doing. And when he thinks he is part of a larger team, he does extremely well." And that is what I tried. Right? You can do it alone when you think you are part of a team. The second story is you can't do it alone. There was a washerman who had two donkeys. Let's say call these donkeys as Donkey X and Donkey Y. Donkey X was powerful, mightier. He could do a lot of things by himself. He was an hero. He could carry more load than Donkey Y. He could impress the washerman by walking fast, um, always trying to show that he's a better donkey. That was his attitude. Uh, Competition was going day by day. It was rising. Donkey Y said, uh, Donkey X, see, we both do the same thing. You try to help me. Don't try to show yourself little better, because I'm bearing the brunt of the washerman. He's respecting you, but he's letting me down. Uh, but the donkey X was in no mood to listen, and donkey X uh, wanted to always prove that he's better than donkey Y. Uh, Days passed, Y couldn't meet X, and the expectation of the washerman went on. He decided that donkey Y is no good, and the fatigue killed donkey Y. Now the washerman was left only with donkey X. With all his superpowers, X was again trying to impress his boss, the washerman, with faster running, handling more roads, more loads, and so on. But that didn't go for too long. Donkey X also started feeling the fatigue. He also suffered a lot. Uh, then the expectation, he couldn't meet the expectation of the washerman. So finally, he has to bear the pain, and fatigue has taken his life as well. The moral of the story is, how much ever talented you are, you can't do it alone. So the two stories, you can do it alone and you can't do it alone, clearly explains you the psychology of being in a team. So let's celebrate the togetherness, and let's do more than what individuals can do. Let's say hooray to the teamwork. Have a good day. Bye.
Welcome to Orcrops YouTube channel, your world for information. Hi friends, today we are going to see the story of the elephant rope. Uh, a man was walking through an elephant camp. A lot of elephants were kept in the shelter, some were outside. But this man noticed that the elephants, whether they are big or small, they were only secured with a small rope that was tied around one ankle. He was wondering why the elephants didn't break free from the rope. The elephants looked much bigger, most of them, some of them young, but he was wondering why they did not break it. He went to the trainer and asked for an explanation. The elephant seems to be big, but why is the rope not broken? They could always break the rope and they could move away. Why is it not happening? The trainer responded to that by saying that he is using similar size rope for baby elephants, and this happens for a long period since they become adults, till they become adults. So what happens when they are too small, when they were babies, they could not break free the rope because they were conditioned that the rope is stronger than they are. The same thinking, same conditioning prevails till they grow up as adults. So, what exactly happens is, even as adults, they think the rope can still hold them and the rope is much stronger than them. So, they never try to fight it. My dear friends, most of us, not only those elephants in the camp were tied with the rope, most of us are tied up with the rope and we think the rope is stronger than us. What I mean here as rope is our problems. The problems that we think we were too young to solve in the childhood may not be the same problem, but similar problems, if it occurs somewhere in the life, we tie ourselves with the rope, just like the elephant's case. So, psychologically, we need to understand that if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you'll have to change your thinking. You're right. When you think you can't, you're right. But definitely you can change your thinking. Thinking makes you a perfect being. Thinking is everything. Never have any psychological barriers in your life and try to focus on the problem. Most of the times, the problem itself is the solution. You don't need to do any extraordinary things. You know, life has given us some beautiful experiences. We need to take all these experiences, learn from them, try to understand where we have gone wrong, what we could not do. Sometimes knowing your limitations can be strength, but breaking your limitations can make you much, much better in life. All right? So, hope to see you all with similar stories in the future. I hope you enjoyed the story. Stay strong, and be strong. Make Across your world for information, breaking the myths will only find something that happened and that is happening. And yes, the facts, what may happen. Stay tuned for all these and more. Across your world for
All, how are you? The topic for the day is ego, right? Thanks to all those who have subscribed to my channel and watching my videos regularly. And for those who haven't, my request is please check out all my videos, and if you like them, subscribe to my channel and share it with all your family and friends. So the topic for now is ego. What is an ego? The ego is an interface of the soul with the respective environment. It must change when the life situation has changed. It is an aid of the soul. The ego must orient itself upon the condition and its wishes. The development of the ego is fueled by the experience, what we experience in our life, and our desires to see life, our perspective of life, and our perception of what is called being success. It's all linked to this ego. Is the ego a necessary evil? In most of the times in the material life, it is yes more than the no. You need to have ego, and what others show you as respect is as a sign of your ego at times, or most of the times, in fact. Ego is a manifestation of our mind, our social consciousness. Is also associated with the needs and expectations of our mind, and the fulfillment of the needs against the social norms. This ego is a very good servant, and if you use it wisely, you will do well. But if the ego becomes your master, then you are a servant of your ego, and you will be a slave of your ego, and you will be. The ego is solely a tool. Thing is, it should be in control. But when it gets out of control, ego must be shown its place. Ego should not be a reason for your fear or worries. Always be watched if you are interested in the development of your consciousness. Love should be better than the ego. Enlightened people totally devoid of ego. What is your opinion on this? Please record your opinion in the comment section. Is there even a link between enlightenment and ego? And went to a saint to become his follower. He said, "Master, I want to be your follower." The master replied, "Come after the eye dies." It is not the master's death, it is the death of the ego that he has developed in him, which would be an impediment for being a follower of the master. That is what is meant here in this story. Ego is always present. Sometimes you need to be more, it needs to be less, but definitely there is a requirement of something called ego. As I said earlier, you must treat ego as your slave. It must be employed differently, different time, and you should be controlling it again, and not the ego should be controlling your thoughts. If you want to change and transform your life, ego is definitely a tool. Must understand the different novel ways, meaningful ways to integrate the ego into the overall personality. Without ego, the overall personality may not have its charm. You ever heard the phrase once bitten, twice shy? This once bitten, twice shy is nothing but the hurting of ego. Your ego is hurt once, so it doesn't want to get it hurts itself. And also, some people talk about self-respect. What is the connection between self-respect and this ego? Is ego the other form of self-respect? We are trying to equate two intangibles. One is ego and another is self-respect. You can record your opinion in the comment section about ego and self-respect if they are one or different entities. Require ego to be doing something called creative visualization. Ego has to be watched. It has to be watched so that we can take care of our mental health. Ego is like a temporary mask. You just have to wheel yourself within your ego at times to protect yourself. Ego, in its negative form, can stir up fear and anger and can cause a lot of negative energy. The ego is a necessary evil for our soul, for our existence, for the purpose of life. You express the ego, the more awkward you look, the more submissive you become. Try to hide your ego, camouflage it with your words and thoughts. Again, you are playing with it. Conclusion here is, though ego is an essential part of the soul, one's life, it has to be handled in the right way too, and it has to be managed in the right way to ensure that the ego is helpful. Hope you had a good time listening to the vlog on the ego. Hope to see you with some similar vlog in the future. Bye then. Take care. Ark signing off. Bye.
Hi, friends. Welcome to the session of mental healing. What is mental healing? You see, you have a mind in place. Where is the mind? Mind is everywhere. Mind is what your thoughts are. Mind is what your feelings are. Uh, there is something called subconscious mind. Subconscious minds helps you in every moment of life. There are certain things which you see in the child world, and you carry forward that without your knowledge. So most of the times the subconscious mind has the powers to keep you happy, healthy, successful, and it can serve a lot of purpose. Okay, sometimes there are certain negative things happen with this subconscious mind also. Depends on how you handle that. Everything that enters into your consciousness is very important. Anything that comes your way, any message that comes your way, any uh, opportunities that come your way are designed for you. It is for you. Sometimes you have so much of energy. You should know how to channelize your energy. Channelizing energy is a science, and you definitely know what is good for you. You may not require all your energy at all the time. You can collect it, store it, and you can use it whenever you need them. You must something called self-love. Self-love can heal a lot of things. The way you perceive yourself, the way you forgive yourself for the mistakes, the way you praise yourself for your success, the love, wisdom, the feeling, mind, the spirit, and body, they all come together and they create a harmony. The power of your body is from the wisdom of your mind or heart or whatever, your thoughts. So, if you are filled with love, then you have the required creative force in you to overcome any kind of disease. You might have seen a lot of discussions regarding food as medicine and regarding pills and other things. But if you know that, if you have love, if you have wisdom, you have the creative force to heal yourself, this is what we call as mental healing. And this will help you anywhere. Whatever happens to you, your body can heal yourself. Mind is powerful. You know why a lizard tail, if it's cut off, it grows? Because it believes that it can grow. You don't believe that your body can heal yourself. That's the reason why it is not getting healed. Believe in your body, believe in your mind. Always heal yourself mentally. Hi friends, welcome to the session of. Hi friends, the topic for the day is the psychology of not being influenced by others, or the psychology of self confidence. As always, we'll see two different stories. The first one, it's not a story actually, it's a real life incident. You all know Marie Curie. She was born in Poland, and she had to undergo a lot of tough childhood, and finally she had, for her education, she had to move to France, and she met Pierre Curie, and they got married, and they were involved in some kind of research with uranium ore. While they were busy doing these experiments and researches, filtering the uranium ore, the entire scientific community was perplexed, and they were wondering what these people were doing, and these people were in fact even called lunatics. Despite the discouragement from the entire scientific community, the Curies did not lose their confidence. They, in turn, went on to find two elements. One is the polonium, and another is the radium chloride. We all know that the radium eventually got them the Nobel Prize, and Mary also won one other Nobel Prize. Uh, the story went on, life went on. The days when even she could not even present a paper. Women were so much of uh, facing so much of restrictions in that period. With all the great scientists with scientific minds, they all started stopping their research, but still they had the perseverance and the clarity and the confidence in what they were doing, and the psychology of self belief carried them through. The next life is of uh, a failed actor who went to an audition, and eventually one of the directors or the assistant directors told, "You are not fit to act as president." Right? So this happened in his early stage, and later on he became the governor of California. In fact, he had two. Uh, he was there for two times, and then he went on to become the president of the United States. You all know whom I'm talking about. I'm talking about Ronald Reagan, who initially started as an actor, and who was a failure actor. I cannot say failure. He acted a lot, but he was not screened for a president's role because he's not fit to act as president. But he did not get influenced by that words. He did not get discouraged. He went on to believe in himself, and the confidence has taken him, and it has done him a world of good, through which he became the president of the United States. So we all must understand that we should never easily, we must always listen to what others say, but we should not get influenced. We should know our limitations, we should know our strengths, we should know, have confidence in what we are doing, and we must do things uh, from what is called inner call. If we do that, you will always be successful in life. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you for listening. Across your world for information, breaking the myths will only find something that happened and that is happening. And yes, the facts, what may happen. Stay tuned for all these and more. Across your world for wishing a very happy new year to one and all. Hope you are doing well. The topic for the day is the Indian caste system, psychology behind the social engineering. Before we get into the topic, for those who have subscribed to my channel and are watching my videos, thank you so much for the support that you have rendered to me. And for those who haven't, please check out my videos. And if you like any of them or some of them, you could share it with all your contacts and give me a big thumbs up if you like the video. Right now, let's get into the topic: the Indian caste system, psychology behind the social engineering. I had to stay in Bali for some time, and it was not uncommon for people there to inquire about my caste once they understood my religion, the religion I belong to. Caste is still one of the bases of the social ranks in Bali, along with wealth, income, education, appearance, and occupation, which is universal. But this caste-based social rank is something which is followed in Bali is very similar to the Indian system because of the religious commonalities. So we are aware of the fact that the bonded labor system, the racism, and the social disparity on the wealth has been in vogue for long. It's been a universal phenomenon. No society is kind of an equal society. Every society is divided on some basis or other. Sometimes the discrimination is based on racial, gender, and religions. These can be understood. But the caste-based discrimination, which is indigenous to India, is very difficult to understand. No? The nature and effects of the caste discrimination are unique. The caste system propounded by the so-claimed Indian social hierarchy is a unique model of social cultural invasion. The social cultural invasion is a case of a fathomable enforcement of domination of one or many groups of other sects of the society. This is not just a one-time imposition. This is passed down through generations, and the consequences worst of this is because this is a sustainable model. It would certainly be an understatement if I claim it has made a huge impact in the psychology and the genetic makeup of the Indian society at large. Okay, how did this happen? How did this came into existence? There are some successful stories that supports the branding based on birth. This was promoted through the so-claimed holy texts, which are mostly undated. So, this understanding this complex social ecosystem requires a thorough knowledge of the basis of this frequently morphing cult, and it is certainly tricky. The undated and biased religious works made it possible to keep the divisions going. The speciality of this inclusion is that a few would be made to feel proud because of their origin. It's purely a branding based on birth. Based on birth, you are branded. And that branding is throughout life if you prefer to stay in the country. whilst others have to burn the brunt of thing called birth. It's never their own choice, right? Anyone would agree about the existence of such discrimination. But the implications of this discrimination are hidden. The so-called lower castes supposedly cannot question any of the actions of the upper caste that is meted out to them, and that's the super catch. Any developing lower class would be generously contributed with the mixed origin. I suppose you know what I mean. You know, even a person born in the upper caste, suppose if he or she starts questioning the rationality of this branding by birth, they would be suppressed and sidelined. This has resulted, it's not only anybody in the society. If they question this, then they would be sidelined from the society. And this has resulted in the low self esteem in the other groups, especially the people who have been deprived of their rights and who have been made to follow this make believe psychology. It is a case of a vital few controlling a trivial many. Even the Buddhas who dare question the practice were handled with a superlative psychological punishment of being included in the same clan and practices that they have always advocated against. This cultural invasion has intruded through the literature, it has been in the arts, it's been in the rituals, it's been in the social activities, the professional choices, and it's entered literally in every aspect of life. This third rated treatment to some of the so deemed lower castes has been the reason why the British East India Company were so successful in ruling this country for centuries. It is often murmured that the Brits were good in divide and rule, but the fact remains that the rule was possible because the land was always divided, and this social inequality has paved way for the Brits to gain control of the land. This cultural nation has been successful for at least 2 centuries now, 20 centuries. We are in the 21st millennia, and it has a huge impact on the biological process as well. The monomind abnormalities have become more, and they have resulted in mental disorders, which means their people are uh, meant to feel low self-esteem, and the negative thinking patterns have developed among them. So this kind of mental disorders have been happening for 20 centuries, and it has been passed to the genetic makeup itself, which means it results in a low rate of reversibility. Oh, what a kind of social engineering, what a kind of psychology. The evil engineers behind this act must be psychopaths. What do you think? Whatever is your opinion, please feel free to record it in the comments section. How do we come out of this? This is certainly not an easy to solve issue. It's been uh, in the society, it's been in the blood of people, it's been in the genes, it's been pouring here for centuries, millennia, and it's very difficult to eradicate this totally. In fact, many of the people who have tried to migrate to other countries have done so not just only because of greener pasture or earning more income or a better lifestyle. They also wanted to hide their social status and this uh, caste system which is enforced on them. Once they get out of the country, they feel relieved that they are out of this. Some have converted to other religions, but even the religious conversions have not helped. It has not, the caste system has not spared even the minority religions. Caste system is often used when it is marriage or when you find someone successful. It is not uncommon here to inquire about the caste again. And It is often used these days. In fact, it is sent through every WhatsApp message that the minorities have to integrate with them. But who are the minorities and who are the mainstream? This has to be defined. What was a minority practice is being propounded as a mainstream practices, and it cannot be acceptable to many. People would want to live in their own way. Yes, for the sake of convenience, for the sake of oneness, for the sake of being together, we respect each other's practices and cultures and other things. But how could something be forced, enforced, and that too with a psychological impact? It's very difficult. India's uniqueness is its cultural diversity. If this diversity has to be preserved, people have to respect each other. If there is an effort to unify it without treating people equally in the name of caste, say, it would not certainly result in any kind of progress. It would only result in a conflicting environment, which would again, that's the reason why India has not progressed. Any progress or any development or any other problem in India cannot be eradicated without the eradication of the caste system here. This is my final conclusion. Maybe you may have your opinion. Please feel free to record your opinion in the comment section. Right. I hope you had a good time listening to the vlog on the cultural invasion, that is the uh, caste system, and the impact of the caste system, the psychology behind the social engineering of the caste system. If you like this video, hit the like button and share it with people whom you know. Thank you for your patient listening. Hope to see you with some similar vlog in the future. Till then, bye bye. Good day. Happy New Year again. Bye.